think I'm right in saying that people love Skoda because it's a real-life brand that prizes value for money and versatility over pretentious glamour. Yet, even as recently as 30 years ago, the Czech brand's sentiment here in the UK wasn't quite so strong. But in 1996, everything changed with a new model called the Octavia. This was the first time that Skoda went beyond just building something that was cheap, and went on to take Volkswagen underpinnings to create something that was both bigger and more cleverer. Yet while the original Octavia was considered a success, both in terms of its competence and its sales volume, there was still some consternation over the Skoda brand here in the UK. That is until this came along, the vRS. In 2001, Skoda launched the RS brand on the back of this Octavia. But it wasn't launched in the UK, and that's because Ford UK had an issue with Skoda using the letters R and S for its performance sub-brand. Hence, the vRS was born. If it sounded a little ambitious for Skoda to come up with a performance sub-brand, it's worth remembering that its history is actually far longer than we expect, 100 years in fact. At the time of its founding, Skoda was actually more of a heavy industry sort of company, manufacturing arms if nothing else. But it acquired a small truck building company called Laurin and Clement, which thus took them into automotive manufacturing. During its early decades, Skoda was known for building all sorts of weird and wonderful creatures, from a V8 powered all-drive saloon pre-World War II to the weird and wacky creations built under the Iron Curtain. Yet the Skoda that we know and love only really came into the Western sphere of consciousness around the early 90s. After the breakdown of the Soviet Union, Skoda accepted an offer from Volkswagen in the late 1990s to partner up and expand its manufacturing operations. Skoda, at the time, was already building a compact family hatchback called the Favorite, which in 1994 was refreshed and rebranded to become the first model we saw here in the UK, the Felicia. Yet while the Felicia was noted for its good value and reliability, it still wasn't exactly on the right side of British sentiment. The whole brand needed a boost to its desirability to help get over its cheap and cheerful image. Which brings us neatly back around to the Octavia vRS, and specifically this first generation model. Born at a time when a Mk4 Golf GTI wasn't particularly brilliant, the Octavia vRS took its key ingredients but repackaged them into a larger and more practical model, which also just happened to be cheaper. For the princely sum of £15,535 in 2001, the Octavia vRS featured the 178 brake horsepower version of Volkswagen's turbocharged 1.8-litre 16-valve four-cylinder engine with the 5-speed manual gearbox. But instead of being put into a car that was all about sharpness of handling, it was instead pitched to be a usable and rounded high-performance family car. Now, I've never actually driven an original Skoda Octavia vRS, but on first impressions, this one's actually really quite sweet to drive. It's got that typical rubberiness that you expect from Volkswagen products of this era, but this 2004 model is actually pretty well kept, even though it has about 70,000 miles on the clock. The engine is a 1.8-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder 16-valve. And even though it's not very powerful, with 178 brake horsepower, it is at least authentic. You can actually hear the turbo, and it sounds pretty good outside too. One area where this Octavia does feel its age is the suspension, which is soft. Now, if I was being kind, I would say it's supple, but it's probably more soggy. Now, the steering also probably isn't that great either. It's got that sort of heavy but feel-free feeling of lots of Volkswagen products from this era. But all things considered, it has earned its high-performance badge. I even think that it looks pretty good in that typical understated Skoda way. But then, Volkswagen's boss at the time, Ferdinand Piëch, did hand-select a guy called Dirk van Brakel to be Skoda's head of design. And he's later credited with designing the breakthrough Bentley Continental GT. From this point on, the VRS badge has also featured on the Fabia Super Mini, including the weird and wonderful first-gen high-performance diesel model. Right now, it sits on Skoda's Enyaq electric car and the Kodiaq SUV, but its most active role continues on the Octavia, which leads us to this, the fourth and latest generation model. Just like the original, this new VRS shares its fundamental hardware with the Golf GTI, but in a larger and more practical body. I think it's also worth talking about how fantastic this current generation of Skoda VRS looks. I mean, it's got that same basic 5-door fastback shape as the original, but the detailing is now really sharp and really crisp. Even Audi doesn't do clamshell bonnets as sharply these days, and it all finds that really good balance between being sporty but not over the top. A further payoff for this type of body is the sheer amount of space available in the boot and back seats. I mean, it is huge in there, with more than enough room to swallow a family's worth of clobber, and if you're really hard up for space, you can get the equally striking estate for only £1,000 or so more. Under the bonnet, you'll find the Volkswagen Group's latest iteration of the EA888 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. And in this case, it produces 242 brake horsepower and 370 Nm of torque. Now, the torque is the interesting figure there because it's available as far down as 1,600 RPM, so it feels really quick on the road and much quicker than that 242 brake horsepower suggests.
In addition to a potent powertrain, the vRS also picks up some bespoke chassis tuning. This includes a small drop in ride height as well as stiffer springs and retuned dampers. Passive dampers are standard fit, and you'll find a great balance between a controlled ride and compliance with them, and it works really well in UK roads even on chunky 19-inch wheels. But if you dip into the options list, you'll also find optional adjustable dampers that widen the bandwidth and give the vRS even more variability to its ride quality.
You can order your vRS with a 2-litre diesel engine that has 197 brake horsepower, but as well as being not quite as quick in a straight line, it's also not quite as sharp to drive because of the extra mass over the front wheels. It will, however, do 56 miles to the gallon, as opposed to this model's 40. If you live in cold weather or regularly go skiing, you can order your diesel vRS with 4-wheel drive. But Skoda no longer offers the vRS plug-in hybrid that had the 242 brake horsepower system, but that's not really a big deal because it had a standard chassis setup and not the unique setup of the petrol and the diesel.
Of course, what Skoda might not have known is how appealing this combination of attributes was to its customers. It might seem obvious now, but the vRS Octavia wasn't just an inspired example of engineering, but also marketing, fulfilling its job of lifting Skoda from just being a value brand and into being a desirable one.
You see, hot hatchbacks have a requisite task to be kind of good at everything. So compared to icons like the Peugeot 205 GTI or the Renault Clio Williams, Skoda's more rational approach to this form of hot hatchback means that it's outlived both of them.
Driving these two cars together has confirmed to me that Skoda hasn't compromised on the key bits that made the original so good. Despite the 20-odd years between them, these two cars actually share many of the same pros and cons. These are both spacious, efficient and well-built everyday family cars with enough of a sporty edge to lift them above the purely mundane. The flip side is that if you're looking for a proper hot hatchback, then this might not be for you. But as a daily compromise, the Skoda Octavia vRS makes just as much of a compelling option now as it did back in 2001. Go for the new option, and a vRS specified with a petrol engine and DSG gearbox will cost you around £36,500, with pretty much all the key equipment already included. Go old, however, and you'll actually be getting a fairly similar package for literally a tenth of the price. But there's a catch. While the original Octavia vRS might have kicked off this genre, it's the current 4th gen car that seems to have perfected it. This really is just about the most rounded car on sale today, and therefore wins this test with more than a comfortable margin. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed what you see, and subscribe to the Auto Express YouTube channel to see all our latest news and reviews when they come out.